The group followed the freedom fighters through the white forest, eventually arriving at the entrance of a large mountain. To their surprise, it wasn't made of rock but of steel, glistening in the sunlight. Metiferous signaled, and the side of the mountain opened like a concealed door. Jonathan and Jabard were shocked, but they all entered. Inside the cave, sitting around a large wooden table, Metiferous engaged in conversation with the group concerning their plans and the history of Casimar. And after countless megacycles of fighting, Casimar's tribunal decided something had to be done. The warring provinces had resulted in chaos and destruction for many a time, and so the greatest minds of our government decided upon what you Earth beings would call a nuclear option. They decided to appoint a singular figurehead to lead the state, to control all of Casimar and force peace, Metiferous explained. So, a dictator, as we'd call them, Jonathan remarked. Indeed, Metiferous affirmed. Jabard chimed in. So, how'd they decide who to appoint? Did you guys have an election, or? Perhaps appoint was a poor choice of words. Master G. Tyro wasn't appointed. He was created, Metiferous clarified. Jonathan was shocked, and Jabard nearly spit out his drink. So, you mean the Zen are governed by a cyborg robot? Master G. Tyro is an artificial abomination created using both organic and inorganic material. Essentially a man born through our technology. Perhaps that is how you Earth beings see it. He was supposed to be formed using the combined essence of the Casimar heads of state, along with a mobile compatile system. The result was meant to be the most powerful and intelligent being in our world, combining the fortitude of Casimar's most successful leaders with the power of our compatile networks. Sounds like some sort of AI supercomputer, Jonathan remarked. At first he appeared to be the perfect solution. All of our wars ended. Peace was achieved in record time. Our world flourished. Our leaders thought they had cracked the code for eternal peace. Unfortunately for them, and us, Master G. Tyro, through the process of ending wars, became obsessed with them. He became obsessed with power and oppression, and with the resources available to him, overthrew our officials in a masterful coup. He had them all executed for suspected treason against his Zen regime, and established a tribunal to deal with any and all who stood against him. I know not the sheer number he has sent to the death chambers or executed by other means, nor the hideous experiments he has already carried out. Metiferous continued. If he's this powerful, how come he hasn't stomped out this resistance? Jonathan inquired. He has tried. Many times, Jonathan. We've lost many friends, we've lost family, and we've nearly been wiped out. We've had skirmishes where we were cut down to barely 10 men, only for the Zen to seemingly allow us to escape, hardly pursuing us. Part of me believes he lets us survive on purpose, perhaps a way to keep the Zen feared or to make an example out of us. Or maybe he simply enjoys toying with our minds. We've never truly stood a chance against him or his Zen. We're outnumbered and outgunned. We've never truly had hope. Until now, Metiferous explained. Jonathan smiled at him. Until now? Metiferous smiled back. He motioned towards some of the other men, and they brought over a few large metal cases. They opened them, revealing white sets of armor. Jonathan and Jabard looked at them in amazement. Welcome to the resistance, Metiferous said. We'll strike at the heart of the Nemokas tomorrow. In the secluded chamber, Master G. Tyro sat surrounded by compatile systems and screens, his eyes darting around at inhuman speed, meticulously monitoring every detail. Brilliant. I've never seen such talented work. Miatea was truly a master of his craft, he mused. His compatile alerted him to a major development, and with swift movements, he reached and slid out a chip. A sinister grin played on his face as he examined it. You tried too hard to hide this from me, Miatea. To arm those who would defy me. How ironic it will be their doom, he boasted. Master G. Tyro retrieved a metal band-like device and placed it on his head. Seated by a large machine, he activated it. A mass of energy and flashes of light engulfed him as the Partisimar laser implant activated, violently shaking him until all went black. A few moments later, Master G. Tyro was awakened by about 10 Zen troopers concerned for his safety. Shaking his head, he outstretched his arms, ensuring his motor functions. Standing from his seat, he clenched his fists. Sir, are you? A Zen trooper began. Never better, soldier. I've never felt better, Master G. Tyro replied. He walked towards a nearby wall, every detail and thought concentrated on it. Outstretching his hands, a green laser flashed from his hands and eyes, blasting a hole through it. A horrific laugh echoed through the chamber, extending past the limits of a normal human voice, almost monstrous. "Compatile, override Phase 1 of the implant," Master G. Tiro demanded. "Negative, intense focus required to achieve Phase 2, replied Compatile. Frustrated, Master G. Tiro turned toward another section of the wall, reaching out both his hands. A fiery green beam tore the wall apart in a burning blast, turning blue towards the end, reducing the rubble to ashes. He grinned maniacally while his Zen troopers took steps back, startled at the sheer power before them. "Compatile, what is required to achieve Phase 3? He asked. "Data is locked," responded Compatile. "Override, now," Master G. Tiro ordered. "Processing, bypassing encryption, overridden, retrying, final stage accessible only in saving a life," reported Compatile. Confused and angered, Master G. Tiro turned towards his Zen troopers with a mad and sinister look. He pointed to one of them. "You, kill him," he commanded. But sir," the Zen trooper protested. "You have your orders, all of you," Master G. Tiro insisted. 4 of the men hesitated, eventually drawing their weapons to point at the designated Zen. Panic filled the Zen's eyes before Master G. Tiro launched a flurry of pure white energy, disintegrating the 4 troopers in a white flaming inferno. Their ashes scattered around the chamber. "Oh, you thought you were so clever, Mitea!" Master G. Tiro laughed madly. The remaining 6 Zen, horrified by the gruesome display, began to rush out of the chamber. Master G. Tiro noticed and, in the form of a solid energy, rushed forward, tearing them to pieces with his hands, their wounds charred and their bodies disintegrating upon touch. The last Zen, fallen to the ground and missing a burnt-off leg, struggled to reach for his weapon. Master G. Tiro rushed over and stomped his energy foot onto the Zen's arm, burning it off. "I am unstoppable!" he declared with triumphant madness. In the heart of the cave, the freedom fighters hustled about, busily gathering supplies and ensuring their weapons were charged for the impending attack at dawn. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Amidst the flurry of activity, Jabard found solace in a deep slumber atop a metal crate, oblivious to the surrounding preparations. Meanwhile, Jonathan remained alert, seated beside his white armor suit, mentally preparing for the challenges that lay ahead. A somber expression adorned his face as he contemplated the events that had swiftly unfolded. Lelina, noticing his contemplation, approached him. "Are you okay?" she inquired, concern etched in her voice. "Yeah, I'm fine," Jonathan replied, his gaze fixed on the armor before him. "You've had quite the few cycles, haven't you?" Lelina remarked, empathetic to the weight of recent events. Jonathan shook his head. "To think just a few days ago I was coming back from college, visiting my parents. I was supposed to finish school and become a doctor. Would have made my whole family proud too. Never would have imagined I'd end up with powers, visiting another world and fighting a war." Seating herself beside him, Lelina offered a comforting presence. "Fate has a way of changing your best-laid plans. I feared my father would be killed by the Zen one day, but to know it actually happened was devastating. After he escaped Casimir, I was sure I would be executed. Never would have imagined an Earthman like you would show up and help me. Help us. I just want to do what's right. I always have," Jonathan confessed. "You are, trust me," Lelina reassured him. Together, they observed the groups of freedom fighters completing the organization of supplies and munitions, preparing for the impending battle. As the night settled in, Lelina turned to Jonathan. "We may not live past tomorrow. I wanted to say thank you for saving me." Jonathan smiled, his eyes meeting hers. They were about to kiss as their connection was interrupted by Jabard's voice. "Would you two lovebirds keep it down? I'm trying to sleep." Jabard's complaint was followed by his dramatic flop back onto the crate. Jonathan shook his head in response, and Lelina, giving Jonathan one last smile, walked to her quarters. Exhaustion weighed heavily on Jonathan as he lay down, desperately seeking rest and sleep in preparation for what awaited him, for what awaited all of Casimir. In the shadows of Kemsor, Zen troops patrolled the streets, vigilant both on foot and in their formidable vehicles. The city, once a vibrant metropolis, now echoed with the oppressive presence of the invaders. A group of Zen soldiers gathered against an outer corner wall, their commander, G. Tiro, addressing them with stern authority. "Maintain high alert. The escapees from yesterday are still at large," G. Tiro commanded, his cold gaze sweeping over the vigilant troops. The Zen soldiers nodded in acknowledgement, their expressions masked by their helmets. Meanwhile, a figure moved cautiously around the corner, catching the attention of one observant soldier. He signaled to his comrades, and they approached with caution. As they rounded the corner, Metiferous swiftly incapacitated one with a precise strike from the butt of his weapon. Before the others could react, Jonathan, now adorned in white armor, unleashed piercing blue lasers that cut through the Zen troops. Jabard and Lelina joined the fray, coordinating their efforts seamlessly. "Detonators!" Metiferous called out, and Jabard tossed grenade-like objects to him. In the process, one slipped from Jabard's grasp, landing on the road. Lelina and Metiferous efficiently planted the explosives along the wall, while Jonathan kept a watchful eye for approaching threats. "All right, clear the area," Lelina commanded, prompting the group to retreat and take cover behind a nearby building. As they prepared to detonate the bombs, another Zen patrol stumbled upon the scene. Unaware of the danger beneath their feet, they approached cautiously. Metiferous, realizing the imminent threat, activated the detonation. The resulting explosion shattered the wall, Zen troops, and their vehicle into pieces. The chaos created an opening, and dozens of freedom fighter vehicles surged through, their weapons ablaze, cutting down the incoming Zen forces. Jabard spotted what appeared to be Zen artillery vehicles in the distance. He urgently warned, "Tanks!" Lelina, unfamiliar with the term, asked, "What are tanks?" "Armored things with big guns," Jabard exclaimed. Jonathan, without hesitation, rushed toward the artillery. With a surge of blue energy, he melted and exploded the vehicles. As he turned to face incoming Zen squadrons, he became the focal point of their furious assault. Though his armor absorbed most of the blasts, a particularly powerful hit sent him stumbling for cover. Undeterred, Jonathan retaliated, unleashing blue laser bolts that cut through the Zen ranks. However, the tide of battle turned against them, with casualties mounting on both sides. The Zen forces rallied, inflicting severe losses on the freedom fighters. Jabard hurried to Jonathan, who was still recovering from the powerful blast. "Come on, man, we're getting slaughtered out there." Struggling to his feet, Jonathan confessed, "I don't know if we can do this." "We can. Now get up and show them what you're made of," Jabard urged, determination burning in his eyes. With a nod, Jonathan rushed back into the fray, firing at the encroaching Zen forces. Jabard, along with other freedom fighters, joined the fight. Amidst the chaos, a Zen tank appeared in Jabard's path. Undeterred, he sprinted toward it, climbed onto the turret, and with lasers firing around him, eliminated the Zen inside. Jabard and two other freedom fighters took control of the tank. Massive shells from the tank started decimating the Zen forces, providing a much-needed advantage. Jonathan, witnessing the turn of events, saw Jabard piloting the captured tank. "Get some!" Jabard roared, unleashing the destructive power of the tank upon the remaining Zen forces. Jonathan shared a triumphant smile with Jabard after the successful takeover of the Zen tank. "Well, thank you very much," Jonathan quipped, and Jabard burst into laughter. However, their celebration was short-lived. A sudden flash of concern crossed Jabard's face, and he pointed behind Jonathan. We've got a whole lot of company," Jabard warned. Jonathan turned around and beheld a formidable sight. Hundreds of Zen troops approaching from the west side. As he and the freedom fighters prepared for a fierce battle, Jonathan noticed an anomaly about these Zen soldiers, a white dash across their black armor. The same distinctive mark adorned their vehicles, but instead of attacking the freedom fighters, they swiftly engaged with the other Zen troops. "Hold your fire! They're on our side!" Jonathan commanded. "Looks like they're starting to turn on their boss," Jabard observed. A Zen transport with the same white streak pulled up beside Jonathan. The hatch opened and Commander Veranomus emerged. "I see you're the powerful Earthman I've heard so much about," Veranomus remarked. Jonathan extended his hand for a shake. "Yeah, I prefer LASARMAN now, I think." Veranomus shook his hand, expressing his conviction. "I've convinced many of my men to join you against Master G. Tiro. He's condemned me and my family to death, and many others would likely be next. It's time for a regime change." Jonathan nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Well, we've got to cut off the head of the snake first." Veranomus, puzzled by the metaphor, inquired, "Snake? What is—" Jabard called out from the tank, clarifying, "It means we've got to blow your boss sky high." Jonathan chuckled, gesturing to Jabard. "What he said," Veranomus, determined, declared, "My men are with you, and I have a feeling others will join us." "Good. Let's go." Jonathan rallied the newfound alliance, ready to face the remaining Zen forces. The freedom fighters pressed on through the city of Kemsor. and the chaos unfolded with Zen troops falling under the onslaught. Some of them chose to surrender, while others switched sides. Even civilians, inspired by the uprising, seized Zen weapons and joined the fight. Jonathan, leading the resistance, marched at the forefront until they arrived at the Nemokas Palace in the heart of the city. Its massive marble form loomed over the battlefield, a symbol of the oppressive regime. From a high balcony, Master G. Tiro emerged, his presence commanding the attention of every fighter in the streets. His voice, a blend of power and malevolence, echoed throughout the city. "Silence!" The command froze everyone in their tracks. Zen soldiers, freedom fighters, and civilians alike turned their attention to Master G. Tiro. Jabard glanced at Jonathan, who was catching his breath. "I guess that's our guy?" Jabard quipped. Jonathan nodded. "Yep." G. Tiro spoke, his voice thundering throughout the city. "I saved Casimir from your endless wars. I restored peace and unity to this world. This is how you repay me?" "Your tyranny ends today," Jonathan declared defiantly. "Silence, earthworm. You've ruined everything I was created to protect and rule. For that you will perish. You all will perish." Master G. Tiro roared with intense hatred. Jabard, seizing an opportunity, rotated the tank turret to aim at Master G. Tiro. "Get some!" Jabard fired, causing a massive explosion that destroyed the balcony. The crowd watched in shock. Jonathan, looking at Jabard, received a shrug and a nonchalant remark. "What? Boring conversation anyway." However, their triumph was short-lived. A sinister laugh resonated through the city speakers, and Master G. Tiro transformed into a solid form of pure energy. Emerging from the rubble, he surveyed the masses with malevolence. "Death to all traitors!" Master G. Tiro leaped from the balcony, landing violently on the ground. White laser shockwaves erupted, obliterating the marble structures and sending bystanders flying. The battle intensified as both freedom fighters and turncoat Zen troopers engaged in a relentless firefight. "Engage!" shouted Metiferous. "Open fire!" commanded Verinomus. The combined laser fire from both sides created a blinding display of light. Yet Master G. Tiro seemed impervious. His white energy form countered with unmatched power, disintegrating both Zen and freedom fighters with a single strike. Jonathan, fueled by determination, unleashed his own blue lasers, pushing Master G. Tiro back. "You wish to challenge me, Earthworm?" Master G. Tiro roared. A brutal contest ensued, with beams of energy clashing violently. However, Master G. Tiro's overwhelming power sent Jonathan crashing into a marble wall. As he struggled to recover, Jonathan witnessed the devastation wrought by Master G. Tiro, who continued slaughtering Zen and freedom fighters. Jabard once again aimed the tank turret at Master G. Tiro, but a devastating white energy beam pierced through him. "Jabard!" Jonathan screamed. Jonathan rushed to Jabard, climbing onto the tank and desperately holding his friend. The rage within Jonathan intensified as he glared at Master G. Tiro. Rushing towards the menacing figure, Jonathan transformed into LASARMAN, ready for an epic confrontation. The ensuing battle between LASARMAN and Master G. Tiro shook the very foundations of the city. Their energy beams clashed, buildings crumbled, and the once proud Nemokas Palace was reduced to ruins. Despite their seemingly equal strength, neither could overcome the other. "You cannot destroy me! I am like you now!" Master G. Tiro roared. "You killed my friend!" LASARMAN retorted. Their struggle continued, each blow enough to decimate structures, yet none had a lasting effect. Master G. Tiro retaliated with a massive energy blast, sending LASARMAN flying backward. "It would seem we are equally matched! We're immortal!" Master G. Tiro boasted. LASARMAN, undeterred, lunged at him again with a passionate hatred. "You won't be if I can help it, you monster!" The two adversaries clashed fiercely, their lasers firing back and forth. Eventually, Master G. Tiro unleashed a blast that buried LASARMAN under a nearby marble building. Despite his attempts to stand, Master G. Tiro relentlessly attacked, stomping and blasting LASARMAN with pure energy. "You are no hero, Earthworm. You are but an infestation, a disease that must be cleansed from Casimir." As Master G. Tiro prepared for a final devastating blow, artillery fire from the remaining Zen and freedom fighters rained down upon him. The unyielding form of Master G. Tiro absorbed hit after hit, yet he continued to fight. Laughter echoed as he fired back, devastating the uprising. Amid the chaos, a battalion led by Lalina and Metiferous became exposed. Master G. Tiro turned his sinister smile toward Lalina. How fitting that Mitaya's daughter should die at the hands of his own weapon. LASARMAN, freeing himself from the rubble, witnessed Master G. Tiro descending upon Lalina. "Lalina!" LASARMAN screamed. Just as Master G. Tiro attempted to strike, his body suddenly exploded into a mass of energy. The shockwave knocked everyone back, and LASARMAN reverted to Jonathan's human form. As the crowd began to recover, Metiferous rushed over to Jonathan, helping him up. What happened? Jonathan questioned. I don't know, he just exploded, Metiferous replied. Lelina embraced Jonathan, relieved to see him alive. You're alive, she exclaimed. You're alive. I thought he was going to kill you, Jonathan confessed. I know. Something stopped him. I don't know what or why, Lelina admitted. The two embraced amidst the ruins of the battle, the city free from the tyranny of Master G. Tiro's rule. As the crowds gathered in the ruined city, Jonathan knelt by Jabard's lifeless body still atop the tank. He held the hand of his fallen friend, the weight of loss heavy on his shoulders. He died trying to save me, Jonathan whispered. Lelina joined him, offering her support. He died a hero. I wish I could have saved him, Jonathan lamented. Metiferous approached, his solemn expression reflecting the gravity of the moment. His sacrifice will not be forgotten, nor yours. You've saved many lives today, Jonathan. Gazing at the hopeful faces around him, Jonathan felt a surge of determination. A woman hurriedly approached the group, and Lelina recognized her. Wait, you're alive, Lelina exclaimed. The woman, Prisimoto, and Lelina rushed into each other's arms. I thought you were dead, Prisimoto admitted. I thought you were too. After you helped my father escape, I thought, Lelina began. Your attack on Kempsor came just in time. The others were able to free me during the chaos, Prisimoto explained. Turning her attention to Jonathan, she smiled. And you must be the new hero of the people? Jonathan humbly responded, You could say that. We are all grateful for your help. We can't thank you enough. Come with me, Prisimoto invited. The group followed Prisimoto to a building across the city, now converted into a war room full of screens and devices. As they navigated through citizens and fellow fighters, they came across Verinomus engaged in conversation with another group. Spotting Jonathan, he respectfully addressed them. So, it's over, Verinomus observed. Yes, it's over, Jonathan confirmed. I know I owe a great debt for all the wrongs I've done and my crimes against Casimir, against our people, Verinomus admitted. We will handle that in time, but know that we will take into consideration you joining our cause. We may need your expertise in the future, Metiferous stated. I would be honored. Thank you, Verinomus replied. Turning to Lelina, he expressed remorse. I am so sorry about your father. He was my father's friend too. Lelina acknowledged his apology. I know, my father would want us to put the past behind us and rebuild Casimir, and make sure that something like Master G. Tiro never re-emerges. Verinomus agreed, and Jonathan pondered something in his heart. There's something I still don't understand. Why did Master G. Tiro explode? It was so sudden and instant, like a switch got triggered, Jonathan wondered. And it isn't like we didn't hit him with everything we had beforehand. No one could survive what he did, Metiferous added. I may have an explanation, Prisimoto intervened. The group followed her to another Compatil, where she inputted several commands. Eventually, she brought up the coding for the Partisimar laser implant. Mitaya built the implant as a weapon, yes, and the most powerful one on our planet. But he included a contingency plan in case it fell into enemy hands. An override, T-Kurtzid Flies, Prisimoto revealed. The what? Jonathan asked. Backwards it's self-destruct, Prisimoto clarified. He was about to kill Lelina, right? Jonathan realized. So that was the trigger, Verinomus questioned. It appears that Mitaya didn't have enough time to complete the code to include all non-Zen troops, so he only named one individual, Prisimoto explained. Lelina, your father really loved you, Jonathan acknowledged. He did, Lelina affirmed. Later, Jonathan walked to a window to gaze over the city. Both Zen and citizens were rebuilding and cleaning up from the previous battle. Lelina joined him. This is what my father truly wanted. No Zen, no freedom fighters, just Casimarans. We finally did it, Lelina expressed. We did, Jonathan concurred. The two stepped closer, holding each other as the sun beamed through the purple skies. You remember yesterday? Before when we were... Jonathan began. Lelina motioned forward and kissed Jonathan, who embraced her. Yes, she replied. Casimir was saved. The oppressive rule of Master G. Tiro and the Zen had finally ended. A new government was established, with Metiferous and Verinomus heading new affairs. A democracy was established, and Casimir was united in peace and harmony. Jonathan and Lelena's relationship flourished, and they were wed twice, on Casimar and Earth. Jonathan alternated his time between Earth and Casimar, becoming the defender of both worlds. LASARMAN had achieved his destiny,